every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. to Veterans in Politics. For more information regarding VIPI, visit www.veteransinpolitics.org.
Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Brittany Nicole, Veterans in Politics. We have Danny Tarkanian, who's running for United States Senate. Mr. Tarkanian, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be back on your show, and I enjoy every time you have me on.
How many times you been on? Like 100, 200?
Too many.
How many times you been on, Jim?
How about this? Every race I've been, that's too many.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of race. Could you give us a background?
Well, we were just talking. I was actually born in Southern California, but moved here when I was 11.
What part of Southern California?
I was born in Redlands, California.
Redlands. You know, I used to have a girlfriend up there back in the day.
Oh, yeah?
College, Redlands University.
My dad coached.
She stood me up.
Did she?
Yeah.
We're not surprised.
My dad taught at Redlands High School. He wanted me to go to Redlands University. He thought that was the greatest college ever. He talked his younger brother to go there, and his kids went there.
Yeah. Tell us about you.
Anyway, so I moved here in the early 70s, been here for most of my life. Graduated from UNLV in 84, went to law school in University of San Diego, graduated in 88, came back and practiced law for 8 years. Then I went and coached basketball with my father for 7 years in Fresno, where I met my lovely wife, Amy. We got married in 2001.
She balances you out, doesn't she?
She believes me. She's way over ahead of me. We have 4 young kids. My oldest daughter, Lois, is 14. She was named after my mother.
Right. I love your mom, Lois Tarkanian.
Yes.
Great city councilwoman. She's up, right?
Great woman.
Yeah, she's actually termed out.
Okay.
Anyway, then I got twin daughters, Ava and Ashley, that are 12, and my little boy, Jerry, who's 7.
Right.
And I moved back to Las Vegas in 2002 when my father retired from basketball, and I started the Tarkanian Basketball Academy, a nonprofit youth organization that teaches young kids how to learn the life lessons.
I want to stop you right there because I have a question.
Okay.
From one of the viewers that knew you were coming on. Here's a question for Danny Tarkanian. Why is there not an American flag hanging in the Tarkanian Basketball Academy facility?
Well, I don't know. I think most of the places that have gyms have flags, but most of them deal with public schools or some type of school systems. We haven't had one in there, but after this last incident, that would be a good suggestion. It's something we should take her up on.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a good question.
I didn't write it.
So anyways, I started the basketball academy because I saw that the secondary school system here in Las Vegas was de-emphasizing sports, and I felt that all of the things that I use to try to be successful in the different endeavors I have in life, I learned through playing sports. And I think it's very important for kids to learn how to compete, how to handle adversity, how to come back after loss, how to win with dignity and lose with class, as my father would say. So we run about we've had thousands of kids come through the program, and it's great to see some of these young ones now out of college and working. And I also do some real estate work. I used to buy and sell real estate when I was younger, and then we have a piece of property that we decided to develop, and I've been developing now for 15 years. We almost lost it during the recession, but thank you.
Still have it?
We have it. It's 100% leased as of August. It
took
us 10 years from one.
Where's this property located?
It's on the on the northeast corner of Cimarron and Warm Springs, across the street from the San Martin Hospital.
That's where you have your law firm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking of that,
I don't really practice law anymore. There's a nice lady who runs that firm. What's
her name?
Samira Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, good friend of the show.
Tarkanian and Knight. Speaking of that, you're the only one that successfully sued someone in a defamation, and you won. And the reason why I'm bringing that up because I got involved on the other side, but and you won that, and then you sued the current Jackie Rosen, your last race, in the defamation, and you won that one as well.
Well, it's so far, but we will.
Who's the attorney on that one?
Samira was working with a partner that she has, or somebody she's associated with, named Jenny Foley.
Okay.
They were but this is I won the first defamation lawsuit by somebody in politics in 2009.
Mike Snyder.
Mike Snyder, and judge awarded me $150,000.
You got paid?
Yeah, I got paid, and the attorneys took.
Where's my cut?
Well, the attorneys took $135,000 out of it. They left.
Damn. The attorneys always win, huh?
Always win. They always win. So anyway, but I did it more out of principle. I didn't feel I could win a political race if they can continue to lie about me like they did. And basically what they said was I basically committed some type of fraudulent active fraud in senior citizens out of millions of dollars because I formed a corporation for a client that 5 years after I left the practice of law committed fraud, and they wanted to tie me to them. And so anyways, as you mentioned, it was a unanimous decision.
Right. Congrats.
Thank you. And so then I run in this race against this lady named Jackie Rosen, and she didn't have much positive things to say about herself, and she made it known very clearly she wasn't going to run positive ads in the campaign. So they spent $8.5 million running negative ads against me. It was the most expensive race in Congress last election. Imagine $8.5 million of
We could have fed a lot of homeless veterans with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she ran one of the ads she ran along with the what they call the DCCC, which is Super PAC for the Democrat Party, was virtually identical to the ad, to the words Mike Snyder had used. I mean, if you took out the words the, it, and the little small ones, it was virtually the same words. So I sent her a cease and desist letter demanding her to take down the ads, which if she did at the end of the campaign, it would have blew up in her face, so she didn't. She felt winning was more important. I told her I'd sue her if she didn't, and so we sued her. So she filed a motion to dismiss. She has Harry Reid raising money for her with the super PAC that they could do to pay for her attorney fees, and they came in with some high-priced Washington, D.C. attorney and filed a motion to dismiss. Judge Weiss was the judge. He's a Democrat judge, and I was very impressed with how he easily caught on to what the whole issue
Republican
was.
wife, though.
What's that?
He has a Republican wife.
Does she? Well, that's part of what keeps him good and balanced. But anyways, so the argument they had was really amazing. This is a political campaign. We can say whatever you want. And if Danny doesn't like it, he can respond back. And listening to my man right here, James Levitt, say term limits aren't important because you can the voters should decide. He's completely wrong, because you were saying that. Once you're an incumbent, you have the money, you have the name recognition, you have the power, and you have the favors you've done for people.
Exactly. Lots of favors.
It's an incredible disadvantage for somebody running against an incumbent. And just as it is for me, if I'm running against Harry Reid's hand-picked candidate who was spending $8.5 million, she can say quite a bit more things that are, and if you can say anything you want, why do we have defamation laws? So anyway, so the judge comes back. So our argument is, no, these words were substantially similar to the words you used, that Mike Snyder used in his lawsuit. I sent you notice of that lawsuit, so you know it, and you intentionally went forward and ran with them anyways. Worse than that, they put in the ad these quotes, and underneath the quotes they cite.
What was the quotes?
It was something to the effect that Danny Tarkanian set up 13 fraudulent charities that cheated senior citizens out of millions of dollars, something like that. But the words, the big thing to me, this is the most amazing thing. They quote the newspaper articles underneath, and there's 3 boxes of quotes, right? 2 boxes dealt with the Las Vegas Review-Journal article that actually never said one single thing about me setting up anything or doing any legal work. Doesn't say a single thing about it. You know what all it said was, I won a defamation lawsuit for $150,000. So she's citing that. You know why do you cite those things? To give credibility to your statement, and nobody watching on TV is going to go look at it. They're going to say, wow, the Review Journal site, it must be true.
So we know all about Review Journal.
So not only does she use these attack statements that were already found defamatory, she misquotes, she uses quotes from a newspaper article that basically says they're not true. So I think it's an open and shut case, and I felt very strongly about it. They got some horrible thing, and you understand there's this anti-SLAPP statute that's out there that says if you sue somebody and they dismiss it, that you have to pay that person $10,000 plus their attorney fee. So they just try to scare people from being able to sue people trying to defend themselves. Look, I was raised by a father that says you stand up for what you believe is right, take your lumps when you take your lumps, but don't back down.
But you actually won.
Well, I certainly did.
So who won it? Was it Samara Knight that won that actual case for you?
Her and yes, she actually made the argument. I helped write up the motion, though. Come on, give her some credit. Give her some credit, Daddy Tarkanian. I give her credit. She argued the case, but and Judge Reese was smart and understood exactly that it isn't a First Amendment issue that we're trying to infringe upon the freedom of speech. It's you just can't intentionally lie about somebody when it's already been proven. Imagine this: she's making an allegation about me that's already been proven defamatory, and refuses to take it down after I tell it's defamatory, and she runs it anyways. So anyway, look, this is only the first part. Now we have to go up to the Supreme Court. I assume they're going to rule the same way, and then we have the trial. There's no way in the world that 11 jurors are going to sit there and look at those words words and say that, I mean, anybody who looks at it and says they're exactly the same as the previous ones,
Right.
that aren't going to rule in my favor. So I feel very good about it.
Well,
So,
I like to
Danny-
hold on a second. I like to just give you kudos for just staying in there and just keep doing your thing, and you believe in justice, and you believe, you know, in what you're doing.
I don't necessarily believe completely in justice, because I've seen some really unjustful things. One of them that happened to my dad, that forced him out as a basketball
Yeah.
coach. Some things are horrendous what the judges do. But you know what I do believe in? You better fight and do what you believe is right, or they're going to walk all over you.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. Go ahead, Jim.
You know, it's funny because Steve almost took the words right out of my mouth. I was, you know, of all the things that you've been through in your life, Danny, with, and I've said this to you before, and when I was on the e-board with your wife, Amy, which I have a ton of respect for, you know, I've always said that, in my opinion, that I think that your father is the best college basketball coach ever. Because he just knew how to touch kids. Like, he didn't, like, whatever your upbringing or however you came up, didn't matter to him. He just, basketball was an avenue that he thought would make kids better in life, and I think that's the case.
You know what he did? He got the most out of the players, and he got the most out of the players by instilling in them. And he used to say, you have to have pride in the team, pride in your teammates, pride in your university, and pride in the community. And I see that's what's happening with Trump in America. We went 8 years without having pride here in our country, and finally we're having pride back, and that's why people are feeling good about it.
So my main question is like what Steve was talking about a little bit, touch on, is like, you know, you're a successful person. Like, you don't have to run for office. Like, you could go. You can have a very, very successful life. You don't have to go through this stuff.
Yeah.
Why do you continue to put yourself through this stuff?
It's a great question, and you know, many of the viewers won't realize, but I've been through this now. This is my 6th race,
Yeah.
and in all 5 races, they have said the worst things. Some of them you can't prove as defamatory because they take a semblance of truth and twist it completely around. But the other one I did. They say the worst things, they lie about you. So the question I have is, do I walk away and let these people think that they can lie about me, defame me, character assassinate me in a community that I was raised in, that my family's being raised in, and let them? To me, it's like they've had me on the ground spitting on me, and I'm supposed to say uncle. You know, I'm not saying uncle, as long as I got something to fight back with. And look, I lost the last race by 1%, and I was the only person who supported Trump, Republican federal candidate who supported Trump throughout the race. Every other
And you stuck with him. You didn't withdrew your endorsement like
absolutely.
some people did.
Exactly, because again, there's courage and convictions a lot in my eyes. So there's guys like the guy I'm running against, Dean Heller, was one of the first and ever Trumpers. And then you had the governor, the Senate candidate, the congressman who also was running for the re-election. They all repudiated Trump and demanded him step down. So why I say that is, I lost by 1%. Are you going to be able to tell me or convince me that 1% of the undecided voters did not vote for the Republican ticket because the top leaders on the Republican side said our leader on the Republican ticket isn't worth voting for? Absolutely, 1% of those people didn't vote for him or anybody down the line. So Dean Heller, in my opinion, helped Hillary Clinton win the state, and he helped me lose my position. So I'm going to run against Dean Heller. I'm not going to back down and say I don't want to go through this stuff again. And then the best part about it is, if I win, I get a run against Jackie Rosen in the general election.
Yeah.
And when Jackie Rosen tries to throw out one of these ads, I'm going to say, listen, don't believe me that she's a liar and she's a despicable individual that would sell her soul to get elected. Listen to what the judge said, a Democrat judge. And I don't know how she can answer that, because that's the truth.
Isn't the standard of defamation against a public figure, isn't it like a much higher standard? Because public figures, I mean, you guys are so used to people digging up the dirt and twisting it and slinging it.
It's 2 parts. It's not only is it higher if you're a public figure, you have to show malice, which means you have to show that the person knew it wasn't the truth or acted with reckless disregard of the truth. But it's higher than that for even a political person. Right. They even allow them to say even more stuff. The problem Jackie has is she absolutely knew it was false, so she can't say she didn't, because she knew about the lawsuit. She ran her ad with quotes from 2 newspapers that said the lawsuit. I gave her the cease and desist letter, and she ran it anyways.
Danny, I got to ask you this question because somebody took a photo and sent it to me. It says, it's from the Daily, I don't know, Call Out, something like that?
Caller.
You familiar with it?
I was on the Daily Caller when I was in Washington, D.C.
Okay. It says, Danny Tarkanian tells MSNBC, he would do something on gun control
Yeah.
if elected. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't think that was a Daily Caller. That was another. It's a Washington-based conservative group that.
Yeah,
from
Daily
my-
Call Out.
Okay, Call Out. So it's
Yeah.
not the Call. Daily Caller is a bigger, more respected organization. From what I understand from my consultant is this is some establishment conservative group that's tied to Mitch McConnell. So what they did was they took words from what I said, and it's really horrendous what they do in politics. They take these words that were said, and then they ignore words that I say, and then they take another word I said out of context and try to put them in there. And they did this in this ad. They asked me first of all, the guy asked me about gun control, if we're going to do something about it. I said, look, this has been 36 hours. Can't we let our city grieve and talk about the things that we've done to try to help each other in the heroic statements? So then he goes, but we've gone through this stuff. When is it early enough? I mean, when can we discuss these things? And I said, look, you just had Ruben Kuhn on. He gave 3 reasons, suggestions of what should be done for gun control to help solve this problem, and none of them would have solved the problem. So the guy comes back to me a third time. Well, are you saying you won't do anything about this? I said, look, these things have to stop. This was my quote. These things have to stop. We need to do something to minimize, because you're not going to eliminate these type of activities. And I will work with legislation or otherwise to do whatever we can to minimize it, as long as it protects our constitutional rights. Now, then they make it look like he was using the word.
Look like you were throwing the Second Amendment out the window.
No, and they know I wasn't. And but this is politics, and and unfortunately, people see that and they don't realize it. Look, we have the interview up on our webpage. I think I actually handled the interview very well. And they can go to our webpage at tarknv.com and take a look at it. You could also go there and volunteer, or you could also go there, better yet, and contribute. tarknv.com.
So, Danny, I got a real loaded question for you.
That was pretty loaded right there.
Yeah. No, I got one that's more personal.
Okay.
So, running for office as many times as you have, okay, does it not get annoying at some point to have to keep coming on these shows? And basically,
we do it every week. What are you talking about?
No, but I've followed you, Danny, for a lot of years, and it just seems like you get asked the same questions over and over and over again. How do you not just at some point lose your patience and be like, you know what, I'm just not going to deal with this? Doesn't the press get annoying at some point?
I grew up with the press criticizing unfairly my father for my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was criticized more in college sports than my father was. So I had to learn to tune them out and not let them pay attention. And I do the same here. I like going on
block
shows.
them on Facebook.
Yeah. I like going on shows like this and talking about things that are relevant and important. What I don't like is having to sit here and have people say, well, what about your losses? What about these things they're saying about, what about this misquote on this article? I need to address them because they're wrong. But those are the things that I get a little bit frustrated with. But what can you do?
Right. Well, what we can do, I'd like to jump in at some point here. I am the new person, so I'm just like, wait, I have something to say about this.
You're
and
gonna
then
have
you
the
change
Steve and Jim
topic.
show.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say,
I'm
you're
like-
going to have to jump in with us two. We just talk all day long.
So I feel like I need to backtrack all the way, but then there's no time. But right, so I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, your family's known, and that's that's good. But to me and to other people who are just moving to Nevada, who maybe don't watch sports, maybe don't know of your family's reputation, and you're standing up here alone, just you, because there are several people. It's pretty much of a turnaround city, right? I'm here.
It's high
If I go
transit,
get my
yeah.
license, I'm registered to vote here. I don't have that history. So what I would want to know is, first and foremost, like what are you doing currently? You're not practicing law right now. Is that correct?
As I mentioned, I do real estate development work. I
Right.
just finished my project in August, and I have 2 more buildings I could build now. And I help run the basketball academy, the sports facility.
Right. Okay. So it's just
Businessman.
exactly. Okay. And so going into your election, you're running for U.S. Senate. That's a big seat.
Yes,
So
it is.
what
I was recruited to run in that seat. I was going to run in that congressional seat again, the one I lost by 1%. But I had hundreds of people.
Who recruited you?
I had hundreds of people calling, texting, emailing, social media me, saying you got to run against Dean Heller. He's the worst type of politician we could have out
I
there.
just saw him 2 weeks ago in D.C.
Yeah, well, he flip-flops back and forth, and they asked me to run in that race, and they convinced my wife, and she convinced me.
See, that's how you get to him, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of what separates you from your opponent?
Well, and that's Dean Heller. And I look
Right.
at people.
I don't know anything about
people
Dean
that know
Heller,
me,
and I'm just brand new.
Right. We get
so,
you.
Okay.
People that know me, I think, will attest that I'm very honest and tell you what I truly believe. And some people don't like it and maybe turn some people off.
Right.
But I have true convictions. I've shown the courage to stand by those convictions. I don't back off of. We've been on this show 5 different times, and I've never changed what I strongly believe in.
Right.
Now, if somebody can educate me and convince me to move another direction, I would do so. But I have strong convictions. I have the courage to stand by those convictions. I think the fact that I have never given up through all the onslaught I've had shows that I'm an incredibly tough fighter. I get that from my mother and my father. And I think the leadership skills and the work that I've done in sports shows that I can be a consensus builder, bring people together and get things done. Now, Dean Heller on the other side has flip-flopped on virtually every major issue that Nevadans care about. First of all, he was one of the first never Trumpers, saying he would never vote for Donald Trump. He said, I vehemently oppose our nominee. And then after I got in the race, he says they actually voted for him. So for 4 months, he's telling voters he's never going to vote for him, and he vehemently opposes them. But as soon as he finds out he has a primary after the election, he says he votes for him. To me, he's either lying to the voters 4 months in the election, or he's lying to them now. The worst thing you can be in politics is someone who doesn't tell the truth to your constituents. Second of all, he promised he was going to repeal Obamacare and actually voted to repeal Obamacare in 2015 when he knew President Obama would veto it. Well, when 2017 came around and he knew Donald Trump was going to sign the repeal bill, he joined one of 6 senators to change his mind and voted not to repeal it. So he broke his word again. He campaigned for election saying he's going to be tough on illegal immigration, and then once he got elected, he joined the Gang of 8, wanting to give amnesty and citizenship to illegal immigrants. He was campaigned when he first ran for office, saying he was going to eliminate any funding to any organization that performed abortions, including Planned Parenthood. And then in June, he gets caught in front of a wild town hall where they were screaming out the Planned Parenthood funding, and he promised on tape, I promise you I'll defend and protect the funding for Planned Parenthood. Now, when you continually lie to the public to appease different constituencies, that makes people upset, and that's why these 100+ people were calling and asking me to run against him.
Yeah, because he didn't have political cover.
He doesn't have conviction
Right.
of his positions. He is more important to be a non-termed out senator. He wants to be in a position where he maintains a Senate seat.
And that's the most powerful seat in this, well, besides the governor in the state.
But he'd rather do that than do what's right for the people of our state.
Right.
And when it's all over and done, what is he going to do if he's been there 20 years and he's basically turned his back on the people? I'd rather be in there 6 years, do what's right, have people proud of what I did, and then if they vote me out, they vote me out.
Right.
So let's say you get elected, you get this seat, you're going in your first day as senator, and what are these main, what kind of passion can we see, and what kind of conviction can we expect to see, and what are your main issues that you're not going to back down from? Give me your top 3 that you are absolutely.
Let's talk about passion first. I don't think anybody would go through what I've gone through for the last 14 years if I didn't have passion to go back there and do what's right. So I don't feel I need to explain that much more. I believe very strongly, and I think it's taken a while, but it's about time that somebody finally started talking about putting Americans first and the America First policies of President Trump. Look, there's some things Donald Trump has said and things that he does that are different from me and my style, but he does it and that's his style. But you know what I really like is what he's trying to do for America. He says, hey, we need to protect America workers first. I believe in free trade, but it should be fair trade where we get the best trade policies. We're the world's economic force. Why don't we have the best trade policies? Why do we give better trade policies to our rivals? I don't believe we should be going overseas and being nation building and spending trillions of dollars overseas unless there's an imminent threat to the United States national security or its citizens. We shouldn't be going overseas spending trillions of dollars and young men and women dying. I believe we need to secure our borders. And the Democrats said they agreed with that in the early 2000s. They voted for it. Who doesn't think we should have a secure border? I believe we need to get our economy going full steam again. You can't do that if you don't get rid of these unreasonable regulations that Obama passed, and he's doing that, and also getting a tax system that's fair to everybody. And the thing I like about President Trump's tax suggestion is getting rid of all these exemptions and tax credits that the powerful, influential, and privileged get. See, to me, if you put us all on a level playing field, then it's it's up to us to be successful or fail. It's up to us. But if you give people breaks and benefits and allow them to cheat away things, which is like they do in the tax code, then shame on us. Get rid of those deductions. Just keep the ones that give everybody opportunity. I love those things about what President Trump has argued, and I'm going to be very strong and vote for those.
Well, Danny, and for the interest of time, I want to thank you for coming on the program.
I talk too much. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're fine. I want you to look in the camera and you tell folks why they should go to the polls and vote for you and your point of contact.
Well, I talked a little bit about what I stand for compared to what my opponent stands for, and I don't think anybody can argue those facts. And if you agree that you want somebody back in Washington, D.C. who's honest, has conviction and courage, we'll fight for those convictions and courage, and we'll work with their other colleagues to get things done in Washington, D.C. You got your man right here. I hope that you'll vote for me. And you can go to tarknv.com, and we're just getting our website up. We should have it up on Monday. We have a front page, what they call a splash page right now. So if it's not by Monday, it'll be up by Tuesday.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for coming on the program. Folks, that's Danny Tarkanian running for United States Senate. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, and Brittany Nicole, veterans in politics. But don't go away, folks. We're going to have Christina Gruber, who was one of the victims in the Las Vegas mass shooting. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. This is Jim Jones.